And it was it was at the time when I first started at the show, and man, I ran into some challenges being left in the studio by myself, and we couldn't get them on the air like we wanted to. But I told him we would definitely get him back on, and thank God he's here today.
Yep, here we are.
All right, but Aaron has well, let me go back a little bit. So when he was here on the show before, we titled him as actor, entrepreneur. He was doing some acting work on the show, Our Kind of People, that was that was on Fox TV. Is that show still airing now?
Unfortunately, it did come to an end.
Okay.
And they didn't renew the season. So.
Okay, all right. Well, all right. So, but he got a chance to perform in that or act in that, and then we talked about him being an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about what you was doing back then when you were here last year.
Yeah, around that time, I know we had talked about how I had a storefront, did boba smoothies, and had a food truck where we did New York style Italian ice. But since then, a lot has come and gone, and now we're growing and doing bigger and better things.
Bigger and better things. Okay, so we say he is a truck driver now. So tell us about truck driving. How did we get to this point in life?
Honestly, I never saw myself as being a truck driver. I went to trucking school. I want to say I started about last June. Took about maybe 5-6 weeks to complete. I graduated around August, and had a little bit of trouble finding a job. Surprisingly, you think you need truck drivers everywhere, but I didn't let that get me down, and thankfully I have the family that I do, and we ended up starting my own trucking company. So now I'm an owner operator of my own trucking company.
Awesome, that is great. So, but what sparked your interest? I mean, did you see a big rig flying by you one day and say, "Hey, I want to try that"? Or how did we get there?
I'm on YouTube a lot, and I guess the universe just kind of put it right there in front of me. I started seeing a lot of YouTube videos get recommended to me about, how to get your, box truck business or semi truck business started and running. And once I started watching enough videos, it really piqued my interest to kind of go for it. As being, a business that is always going to be operating no matter what the economy is looking like. You're always going to need truck drivers. And the money. So it's a good a form of income that, it can create generational wealth, and, it just keeps on going.
All right. So tell us some of the first steps you took in maybe seeking a school for truck driving, or how did it start for you?
I did some research on truck schools in North Carolina. A lot of the trucking schools that I had found were, local community colleges. Fayetteville Tech was one of them. Sandhills Community College was one. But I kept coming across this place called Roadmaster. Roadmaster is one of the biggest trucking schools in the United States. And, they said they have a high success rate, but not only that, they help with job placement upon, graduation. But even before you begin your class, they can already guarantee you a placement with a trucking company. So I reached out for more information and got the information I needed. It seemed like something I wanted to do, went for it, and I started in June.
Okay. And were you nervous about going?
I was.
Okay.
Because from where I live, it was about an hour and a half drive one way. Classes start at 7 in the morning, and if you are a minute late, according to state law, you have to get 200 clock hours. And if you are late, they actually drop you from the course and you have to start all over.
Wow.
So it took a lot of determination, going to bed on time, which I still stayed up late, but still had to make sure I got up on time to get there. And then, you sit through a class that ends at about 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon, and then drive back home. So, and then I had to study. So it required a lot of energy from me, but, I made sure if it's something I wanted, to stay determined and keep pushing for it.
Okay. What were some of the things you learned on those first couple of days, or first few days of driving school? So
out of the 4 or 5 week long class, your first week is nothing but classroom. So you're learning, safety. There's a section, truckers against trafficking. How to tell the signs and where to report it, when to report it. So if you see something, say something type thing. And then before you begin your second week, you have to go to the DMV to get your permit. You take a permit test, and that allows you to really get behind the wheel of a big rig. Then that second week on to the rest of the class is over. You're behind the wheel. You eventually get on the road out with cars who don't know you're training. So it gives you that nervous feeling like, okay, I know I'm training, but these people don't. They're moving 80 miles an hour and I'm scared to go over 50. So it's a lot that you learn in a short period of time, but it's nothing that, surprisingly to me, didn't stress me out.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you, what were your thoughts once you got behind the wheel of the vehicle during training?
It was a scary experience at first, but me being raised in the country, I kind of, I was able to drive trailers and, big RVs before my time, before I should have. My grandpa, he would let me drive his tractor on back roads, and we'd go down to the beach and I'd sit in his lap and he'd let me drive like the RV. My feet weren't long enough to reach the pedals, so he did that. He's like, just make sure you keep it in the line. So I kind of had that at an advantage, but it's still very nerve-wracking whenever we had to drive on I-95, which is a super busy highway, especially around where the school was. It was in Dunn, North Carolina, so that's a lot of construction right in that area. So having to maneuver such a big vehicle with all these other cars that are doing, 80, 90 miles an hour, it gives you that nervous feel, but at the same time, you have to really breathe and maintain your composure.
Okay. What are some of the, can you share with us some of the detail or some of the other things they taught you in the class before you went out on the road?
You learn a lot of different maneuvers to park the truck. So you have to learn how to back the truck up straight. They have a 90-degree park where, you come in at an angle, have to turn the trailer 90 degrees and park it within, I believe it's a 10 or 12 foot wide lane. You can't hit any cones or you're going to have to start all over. You actually learn how to parallel park these trucks. That's seen more up north, so thankfully I didn't have to do that a lot. Some other stuff. You learn emergency braking. You learn this pre-trip inspection where you have to go through, and it's over 200 different things you have to call out on both the truck, the trailer, where it connects, the tires, everything before you get out on the road. And if you do not memorize that, then they'll take all points and you actually have to start over.
Wow. Now, last year, we invited Anita Hayes, who is a female truck driver. She came in and shared her experiences with us, and you don't hear very many female truck drivers. Were there any females in your class learning?
Yeah, so
while you were there,
with like you said, the truck driving industry, it is very male dominated, but in recent years there are a lot of females that are turning either company drivers or owner operators. Again, it is used to be male-dominated industry, but I've seen countless females that are doing better than most males in this industry. So in my class specifically, if I remember it right, we had about 20 people in that class, and about 7 of them were females.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to give a house applause to the females. Just a lot of females. And I had the chance of riding in a what I call big rig. Some years ago with a friend, and we left North Carolina and ended up in Minnesota. And I was on the road maybe about a week with that friend and got to see, just different places, Chicago and things of that nature. So to me, it was fun. It was a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun. Now, for someone who may be listening, Aaron, and is interested in possibly going to truck driving school, I want you to do one thing. Tell us what they need to do to get started, or and then some of the maybe pros and cons to it. That's more than one thing. I said one thing. Pros and cons to it, and then also let's talk about cost for schooling.
Yeah, so I can recommend personally my trucking school that I went to. It's Roadmaster now. If you're in North Carolina, then it's right in Dunn. So it's not too far from Raleigh, maybe 30 minutes, not too far from Fayetteville, depending where you're coming from. Roadmaster and Dunn. To prepare for it, really, you don't have to do much because, again, you're going to learn a lot in your first week. As far as cost goes, me personally, and I think it was the same for a lot of other students, the cost you could look at is around $7,000. Now, if you choose to finance it, I will tell you, they do have where you can make payment plans, and there is a positive to that. Um, but that interest rate is a little high, so you're going to come out having to pay back about $10,000. Now, don't let that scare you, because a lot of these companies, they give you extra on top of your paycheck as tuition reimbursement to your school. Um, but really, if you figure, hey, I want to go to truck driving school, I would highly recommend Roadmaster in Dunn, North Carolina.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, I've seen recently where your family members, a few of your family members have maybe gotten together and started a driving school of some type.
Yes.
Would it be a truck driving school or?
So,
What type?
and it's funny you mentioned that, because I've mentioned that to both my dad and grandpa. So they actually do a driver's ed program that is, your normal driver's ed that you probably go through in like high school. However, I am planning, and this is just a little, if you're listening in, you get this little sneak peek. I'm planning to go back to school to get my CDL instructor's license.
Oh, okay.
So then we can, expand that program into offering CDL classes. And then I'm not sure when that'll be. Hopefully by the end of this year, beginning of next year. And then we'll be offering CDL classes.
Well, that sounds good. And I just love the fact that you're doing a lot of this while you're young.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you don't mind, share your age with us if you don't mind.
I'm 24.
24.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what I was thinking about at 24. But it wasn't like any of the things that you're doing, and I think it's wonderful what
Thank
you're
you.
doing at 24 years of age. What are the different opportunities for beginners versus experienced drivers? I know you said you thought right out of school you would have these job opportunities, and maybe as the school promised. But I think you mentioned you had a couple of challenges there.
Yeah. So okay, my challenge actually came from, I kind of brought it on myself. And I hate to say it, but I had a not so great driving record. Had a couple speeding tickets.
Okay.
And that, when companies look at that, it becomes an insurance thing. So they're not as likely to hire you. Now, as a company driver, you're going to be working on a cent per mile basis. You might get 60 cents per mile or whatever it may be, but you don't have a lot of overhead like me as an owner operator does. A lot of opportunities do come whenever you have a CDL. You can go drive school buses. You can go drive charter buses. If you want to, you can go drive, the big rigs. It's not just limiting to, these big rigs that you see on the highway everywhere. A CDL does open up a lot of doors for just commercial vehicles in general. Me personally and my company, we don't operate the big 53-foot semis yet, keyword yet. The easiest way to get into it, really, if you want to be an owner operator, is to go the box truck route. And honestly, the 26-foot box trucks, like you'll see, these big yellow Penske trucks going down the road, they don't require a CDL, but it is good to have a CDL just in the back of your pocket in case you do want to expand. Because during my process of buying a box truck, we actually got a 28-foot, and just that little bit of difference in length and size, it turned that truck from a non-CDL to a CDL required. So again,
Okay.
you might get hit with the truck that is a little bit overweight. Anything 26,000 pounds and up will require a CDL. Anything under that does not. So I would say go the box truck route if you want to get into it easily without spending so much money up front. They're a lot cheaper, and you can actually get into a lot more hauling freight with less overhead.
Okay, sounds good. If you are just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross on Oak 93.5 FM. I have in the house with me today Mr. Aaron Jackson, who is a truck driver and entrepreneur. He's sharing with us his truck driver stories, how to become one, and his experience thus far. Aaron, tell us about your I guess interview experience, if you had one, as a when you first applied for a job. for as a truck driver?
A lot of these companies are so large, you don't do a lot of in-person interviews. Everything's over the phone.
Okay.
I've noticed a lot of these companies use the same kind of online form, and once you fill it out one time, that's it. You know, if you choose to apply to another company, they'll just pull that same information and send it to whatever company you plan to apply for. I've had a couple of over the phone interviews. They're super quick. You know, they ask, hey, where are you based out of? So they can give you a route that's close to home. Especially if, you know, you have a family or kids and you want that home time. Now, a lot of over the road routes, they'll send you, you know, like me, I'm in North Carolina. They'll send me all the way out to California and I'll be gone for weeks at a time. So a lot of these companies, they do want those drivers that don't really, you know, care for home time, don't have any obligations at home that can run those long routes. It can get a bit hard to find some routes that keep you close to home, but as far as my interview experience went, on the company driver side, it's basically been online. Now, as an owner operator, I do have a lot more face to face because I do have to meet with, you know, clients that I look to get contracts from. I have to, you know, show up, really play the part of, hey, this is my company, and I can't just do this over the phone. I want you to see, you know, who you're going to be dealing with, who's going to be hauling, you know, your cargo from point A to point B, and then go from there.
So when you go into these companies seeking a contract with them, do you go dressed as you are now, just casual, or do you go in a business suit?
I wouldn't say like a 3-piece suit, but I don't wear, you know, a hoodie and like ripped jeans. I kind of go, you know, to where I want to make them look at me like, are you sure you drive a truck? You're dressed really nice to be a truck driver. I don't want to go in, you know, dirty nails, messed up hair.
Right.
So I will bring that business side out to where, you know, cute button up, nice khaki pants, nice shoes, you know, hey, firm handshake type thing. And then once it's, you know, said and done, everything sealed, then they get the work clothes ready to get everything, you know, from point A to point B, and then it'll click in their head, okay, you know, he can do both. So now he's dressed ready to work, and, you know, I have confidence that he can do both business side and work side. I have confidence that I've given him this contract and he's going to succeed.
That's good. Now, health benefits. Now that I was going to ask you what it's like. What are the health benefits like if you were to apply for a job with a company as a truck driver, but you're an owner operator?
Yeah.
So I guess you're responsible for your own.
I am. And as I start to, you know, hire drivers, I'm again going to be responsible for, you know, providing that health benefits package, because a lot of people that do go into trucking, they are looking for, you know, what are the benefits other than pay. They need, you know, vision, dental, whatever it may be. From what I've seen in companies, they do kind of offer, you know, the basics, you know, health, dental, whatever. Me right now, I just have to pay my own insurance because I don't have any other drivers. But that is something I'm going to have to really look forward to and have to really calculate that cost into my overhead that I have now.
All right. So you mentioned long distance driving. Have you had many trips long away from home when you've gone out on the road?
Not really. Well, at least not right now. So with box trucks, it's usually a home daily type thing. Now I've had a client that I won't name, but they have a contract that they were given to me to move freight for Tesla. And Tesla, they have a gigafactory all the way out in Texas. So that would probably be, you know, my longest trip so far. But everything's really been East Coast. I think farthest up, maybe Maryland, farthest down, Florida, farthest to the west, Texas. And I'm in North Carolina. So farthest east I can go is out to Wilmington.
Okay. Now, when I was on the road that one time back in I think it was in the 90s, either early 90s or late 90s, when I had that opportunity to go out on the road, the truck stops. They were like, to me, that was like the funnest thing, because you see so many different things and just different products and things of that nature. What has it been like for you, Aaron?
I'm sure truck stops they really changed. You have a lot of different truck stops. You know, you got your Pilot Flying J's, you got your Loves, you got your Quick Trips. speedways, and there's a lot of them that are based just for truck drivers versus, everybody. So if I pulled into a Circle K, everybody's there. If I pull into, a Pilot Flying J that has, showers, and they've got truckers lounges, they've got a wider selection of, they actually have a section in there for, if I need diesel fuel cleaner or a log book to log my driving time versus, Circle K, they don't really have that.
Right.
So I have seen a lot of, you know, differences in as far as that's concerned. It's really cool to pull up to a truck stop because you see a lot of other owner operators that actually have bought their trucks and customized them. I've seen a hot pink truck, and it turned out it was a female owner operator, and the reason she painted that truck pink, she donates to breast cancer.
Oh.
So you'll see a lot of that on the road. I haven't gotten around to customizing mine yet, other than my logo, but I'll get around to doing that.
Now tell us what are in some of these cabs, because like you said, there are a lot of customized trucks out there. And is there a kitchen in that, in those things? Or you tell us what's in there.
Well, in mine, again, I'll run a box truck, so you can't really do too much in those. I have seen some of the sleepers that have, the bunk beds in the back. They'll have the refrigerator, microwave. I've seen a couple people with full air fryers and crock pots. But I saw one truck, and it's called I want to say it's an extended cab. It's almost like a little RV on the back of an already big, semi truck. And that had, he had a full stand-up shower, full kitchen with, household size appliances, not just a little mini fridge. He had a little dining room table. It was, oh my goodness, it was crazy. But once he told me the price of it, I kind of.
And what was the price? I'm interested in knowing.
He said about 1.5 million.
Wow.
So that's maybe something in the future, but I'm not too pressed to get there yet.
Now, have you taken on any riders with you?
Thankfully, yes.
Okay.
My dad, since he has recently retired, and he's actually one of my drivers.
Oh, good.
So anytime we go out on the road, he'll come ride with me. Sometimes he'll find, loads that we can go pick up, and he's like, hey, I can drive, so I'll just be his, co-pilot in that instance. But again, it's better to have somebody ride with you, especially on those long trips, just in case you get tired. You do have somebody to kind of talk to you and keep you awake. So I am very thankful that, he'll be able to go with me. My mom, she's not retired yet, but hopefully I want to retire her soon so she can get on the road with me too.
And I want to give a shout out to your parents today. Christy and Dal. Hello, if you're watching or if you're listening. Aaron, mechanical breakdowns. I'm sure they teach you a little bit of that in school.
Yeah.
Share.
So a lot of the mechanical stuff, you learn the basics as far as, where your oil and your power steering fluid, all that. But since these are such big rigs, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to call roadside assistance. It's not as easy changing a tire as it would be for a regular car. You don't have any jacks to jack such a big truck up. I know some mechanical problems that I've run into as far as me. Let's see. We did have a little small leak and I think it was the coolant. But it was an easy fix, and it was throwing a sensor off. That's what it was. It was throwing a sensor off, and when that sensor is not where it should be, it will actually, make the truck cut off.
Wow.
Now, my dad, he's very hands-on. He looked it up, and he goes to what he calls YouTube University. So you can really find anything on YouTube, and he went on there. We're sitting on the side of the road, and he looked it up. He's like, I know what it is. He goes under the hood, and he pulls this sensor out. He's like, all right, now start the truck up. So I'll start the truck up, and usually after about 3 minutes, it'll cut off by itself. 3 minutes went by, 6 minutes went by, 10 minutes went by. He said, all right, you're good. So we just have to buy this replacement piece. And he's so hands-on that I know he probably saved me a good couple of $100 in shop fees. So it is good to be hands-on, so you can avoid that as an owner-operator. Now, if you're a company driver, they usually pay for your repairs. Just, call up whatever number they give you. But just make sure you're aware of, checking your oil frequently, because you don't want to be on the road away from, the closest gas station in the middle of nowhere, and then your truck breaks down.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You mentioned you had a little bit of setback with finding a job because of your driving history, just in your regular vehicle. On the road as a truck driver, have you had any accidents or?
Ooh, no, thank God.
Thank God.
I've seen some trucks that were involved in either turnovers. Matter of fact, we were coming back. Me and my dad, we went to Savannah, Georgia, and on the way back, we saw a truck. It hadn't just happened. It must have happened a while back. But there was a semi truck that had gone off the road down into an embankment and must have caught on fire because the entire trailer had been burnt. The truck had been burnt. Hopefully, the driver made it out okay. But again, that also ties into you got to make sure you take care of yourself. Don't drive tired. Don't speed. If the weather's crazy, slow it down a little bit. Put on your warning flashers. But thankfully, no, I have not, gotten involved in any incidents like that.
Amen. Good. Now, what are some of the violations that truck drivers face when they're on the road?
I want to say a lot of them are either being overweight, and not the not the truck driver, but the truck having too much on it. You'll go down the road and you'll see these weigh stations. Now, a lot of us in regular cars, we don't have to stop there. But you stop there, you get weighed, and if you're overweight, you can get a violation ticket. That ranges, I don't really know because I haven't had one, thank God. And another one, a lot of drivers, I mean, this should, be common sense, but a lot of them text and drive. It's already bad to, be on your phone driving a regular car. Now you're driving a 80,000-pound truck that takes way longer to stop, from hitting the car in front of you. So there's been a lot of drivers, and I've known state troopers to actually send troopers out in semi trucks to kind of blend in, and it gives you that vantage point. Sitting higher, you can see things better. But yeah, those are probably the top two violations that you'll see a lot of.
Okay, now I have a question, and it may seem like a dumb question, but what does weight have to do with your driving a vehicle?
In some states, well, in the majority of states, being overweight can actually damage the roads.
Okay.
The asphalt is not meant to carry that much weight.
Okay.
Especially if you're going over, overpasses or whatever it may be. It can, begin the deterioration of that structure. And really, that, to my knowledge, that's all. Because we don't really carry that much on a box truck. But as far as a semi truck goes, a lot of states just have these weight laws that would restrict the truck from being too heavy.
Okay. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross. I am talking to Aaron Jackson, who is an entrepreneur, an actor, and he is also a truck driver. And we're talking about truck driving today. Aaron, let me ask you this. So there are different types of trucks out there. Flatbed, dry van. What are some others?
You have one of the most popular other than dry van and flatbed is going to be your reefer trucks. Those you see carrying a lot of your, perishable foods. So,
wait, what'd you call them?
A reefer truck.
Reefer trucks?
Now,
is that refrigeration?
Yes.
Is that short for?
Yes. Now, I know
Okay.
a lot of the older crowd, they'll think, oh, reefer truck, is that, but no, it is a refrigerated unit.
Okay.
And that carries a lot of your, meats, produce, milk, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But other than those, that'll be your most popular. You'll see a lot of car haulers. Now hauling cars, that takes a lot more as far as like insurance is concerned. But if you kind of want to stay in the basics, you're either going to get a dry van, you're going to get a flatbed, or a refrigerated truck. So.
Which do you find most pleasing for you?
In the sense of easy to drive, I would say just a regular dry van. Refrigerated units, you have that extra responsibility. You have to make sure the refrigeration unit is on and is working properly. And those can go through a lot of repairs. Stuff can go wrong. It's a lot of mechanical stuff that's involved in that. And then flatbeds, it really depends what you have on it. I would say that's easy, but you could have something super easy to carry, and then you can have something that creates a wide load. Like you've seen some of these big tractors getting hauled down the road, and that creates the thing of it can be top heavy, so you're more likely to turn it over. So I usually like to keep it simple. The regular dry vans that can only carry a certain amount of weight, I don't have to worry about it being too heavy, too wide, and I like to go from there.
Okay. Now, look, back in my day, we had, I think CBs were a popular
Yep.
thing with truckers and truck drivers.
Yeah.
Do they still exist today?
They do. Now in a lot of movies and TV shows, you'll see them used a lot more. But I've, driven on the road past countless truck drivers, and there's no communication on them whatsoever. A lot of people just don't care to use them, but they are very beneficial, especially if, let's say, there's a truck that's, farther up ahead than I am that's witnessing a wreck. Then they can radio back and say, hey, you guys are coming up on a wreck. Go ahead and slow down.
Okay.
So it is used as a preventative thing, but as far as just, conversation, you don't see them used a lot.
All right. Now, back in the day, there was a movie that was very popular when I was a young girl. And this movie was written in 1977, or came out in that era. It was called Smokey and the Bandit.
Yep.
Do you know about that movie?
I've heard of it. I've never watched it, but I hear my parents talking about it a lot.
Okay. And I believe it was about a couple of a truck driver and someone in a fast car trying to get illegal booze from Texas to Georgia. I believe that's what it was. And then they had the county sheriff pursuing them and trying to stop that operation. But yeah, when I think of truck driving, I think of that movie, Smokey and the Bandit. And there was Burt Reynolds, who was a very highly publicized actor in that day. He was in that movie, Sally Fields and Jackie Gleason. All of them very popular in Hollywood. And then there's the 1986 movie written by Stephen King, Maximum Overdrive. Have you seen that?
I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it.
Okay. And that was actually based on the book called Trucks, written by, I believe, Stephen King.
Okay.
And I found out, this movie was like a comedy horror kind of thing. And I believe I watched it that long ago, but don't remember anything about it. But I went to just pull it up and see what the movie was actually about. And surprised to find that it was actually filmed in North Carolina, in Wilmington, North Carolina. And the reason for that was it helped keep funding down for the movie, because North Carolina is a right to work state.
Yeah.
And the purchase at the time of the purchase of the movie, they thought, okay, well, let's go down to North Carolina and do this movie. It'll help cut some of the costs. There are non-union crews down in that area, and so let's do the movie here. That was the basis for doing it in Wilmington.
Okay.
And but this movie, it was a comedy horror, and it was based on this comet that flew past Earth in space and caused all the inanimate objects here on Earth to want to hurt humans.
Oh.
Okay, and one of those inanimate objects was a truck. And so it affected the truck some kind of way to where it wanted to harm humans. So I want to go back and look at both of these movies now that I have you sitting here in the studio and we're talking about truck drivers. So something you may want to do too.
All right, I need to check it out.
Yeah. All right. We've been talking to Aaron Jackson. We've been talking about truck driving. If you want to give us a call, if you have questions for Aaron, please call us at 919-899-9305. You have an opportunity now. Don't be shy. Again, we've been talking about truck driving. If you have questions for Aaron Jackson, who is a truck driver now, please give us a call at 919-899-9305. Something else I wanted to talk about, since I have Aaron here, who is a young man. He's 24 years old. He didn't mind sharing his age with us. I wanted to talk about young love, and I want to just get his opinions on this. And the reason why I chose this subject today, and it's on a sad note, actually. Oh. And I just feel like some kind of way we should address it. Aaron and I both attended Pinecrest High School in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Yep. And on last week, we had a terrible incident, one of the most shocking incidents I've heard of in the school's history.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, a young lady was stabbed on campus. And first of all, I want to say we are still praying for the young lady in a speedy recovery. She is okay from my understanding. Yep. But once all the smoke cleared and the information was released on why this happened, it was mentioned that it was a breakup between the young lady and her boyfriend, who also attended the school. Her name was mentioned or was released, even though she's, I believe, under the age of 16. And the reason why it was released is because there was a GoFundMe set up in her honor to help her parents as she recovers, and help her parents and her as she's recovering with medical expenses and things of that nature. And they had to take her out of town to help her on her way to recovery. And of course that, her parents staying out of town, that they could use a little help there. But I won't call any names of anybody here, but I just wanted to look at the situation. I looked at Aaron. When does love begin for us, when we start to have feelings for another person?
Oh, man.
And when I started just examining myself, I would say I can remember sitting in first grade having a crush on the little guy sitting next to me, and I'm not going to say that's when true love begins. But when I look at it with a fine-tooth comb, I thought I was in love with that young man.
Right.
But when I look this up, it says 55% of people between the ages of 15 and 18 begin to fall in love with someone that they see, know, and like. Give me your thoughts on that, sir.
Well, I've had my fair share of relationships. They've come and gone, especially around that time. I feel like that time is, high school time. So it's like high school love, ooh, I got a boyfriend, I got a girlfriend. But, me now being 24, I look back on those people that I was like, oh yeah, we'd be cute together. And I'm like, gosh, like I dodged a bullet with that one.
Yes.
So I mean, I wouldn't say that's when you're going to find your soulmate. But that will be a time period where you will be tested. And that will really shape, what your type is. Like you might think, oh, I want this kind of person. And then you go for that kind of person and it doesn't work out. So then you change it up and try something else, and then that might not work out. And then, your third time's the charm. That is what works out. However, you're in high school. So college comes along, you go to different schools, and the distance is what, breaks you up. But, you saw something that worked and two things that didn't work. So, as you go along and you progress and you age, you might try again with that same kind of thing, just with a different person.
Yeah. And before I get into more what I want to say, I want to commend the students and the faculty in that situation, because it was the students and the well, I want to say the students first. When they saw what was happening to the young lady, they acted on retaining or trying to not let the attacker get away. So we want to applaud you on that one, if you're listening. But yeah, so I just felt like, let's touch on this and let's see how we can help maybe prevent something like this from happening again. And I think if we start at home, I don't have any birth children, but I've had stepchildren and I've had one stepchild to live with me. But I'm thinking, start when they're that young, some kind of way, let them know, hey, if you like this person and they don't feel the same way about you, it's okay. Right. Don't try to force anything on them. Yep. You keep going on. There's going to be somebody you meet later on down the road. And being that, me looking back at myself, and I said, well, man, 10 years old. I mean, I don't think we're thinking it about that hard. Right. We don't even know what we're doing. We just know we like that person sitting next to us in school. But 15, when they hit that 13, 14, 15 range, maybe that's when we should start sitting our children down and having these conversations with them. What do you think, Aaron?
I think that's, an appropriate age to do so. Because again, I had my little first grade, second grade crush. And really, I think it was just, I had that crush because they had a pencil pouch that I liked so much. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be your little boyfriend, so I can share your pencil pouch or whatever it may be. Or your mom packs you fruit snacks every day, and I want one, so I'm gonna be, But once you do get to that 15, 16, up to 18, range, at that age, a lot of kids are also, exposed to more. So it is important to have those conversations around that age, so you prevent things from happening too soon. Because you see TV shows, what is it, 16 and pregnant or something like that. And everybody just thinks it's a TV show, but you need to have those conversations with your kids to, kind of prevent those things from happening, because it can really alter their course of, the life that they're going to take.
Right. All right. And me personally, I don't believe it should be done like sex education and all those type things. I don't think that should be handled at school. I believe that should be handled at home.
At home.
But then you think about the students that don't have the parents that would sit down and talk to them like that.
Gotcha.
What's the solution then, or what's the prevention then? How do we do that?
I mean, with me, I hated going through the sex education through school, because it seems very one-sided. They just speak to, boys as a whole, because they teach you, okay, if you do this, there's, pregnancy. If you do this, there's that. But they don't really give you the one-on-one that a parent would. They can speak to you as, okay, you're my child, so I know this is how you act specifically to you. And, I know you like this, and this. And they can kind of, I guess, in a way, cater it to a way that you hear it better and you receive that information better, instead of just this is a general class. They're just speaking to everybody, not me specifically, because everything you're putting on this whiteboard, that's not what I'm into, kind of thing. So
we've been hearing a lot lately, and I know I keep talking about this, but I feel like I should too. I should continue, because I don't know who didn't hear it the last time. Weapons in school. What can we do? Because when we again go back to the incident that happened last week at this high school, there was a large weapon used. From what I read, there was a large knife that was used in the attack. Is there some kind of way that you can think of that we could, I don't know, prevent students from bringing weapons to school? And of course, we continuously hear about school shootings. What can we do?
I mean, gosh. And it really breaks my heart that I've seen this video circulating on like Facebook. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a panic room that is installed into a classroom. And it takes about maybe 10 seconds for the teacher to pull it out from the corner, and it becomes like this bulletproof shelter.
Oh, wow.
It's a shame that we need those in schools today. And school campuses are designed so open. I really don't think there's a way to like lock them down. Especially, Pinecrest, for example, how open that campus is. There's so many access points. And I really think the only solution is, to hire more SROs, but then that becomes a problem because there's so many schools. So you're going to have to hire, countless, SROs to patrol every entry point on campuses.
And what is an SRO?
School resource officer.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I agree with you. More SROs. And I'm at this point again, I'm going to say it again, metal detection.
Yep.
Why are you coming to school some kind of way? Make it happen, and I just, again, it's sad that we have to do that in this day and time, but it is this day and time, and so I think we just need to be as preventive as we can be. With that, Aaron, I also want to couple in getting easily offended.
Yes.
That's something I think we should touch on. How do we not get so easily offended? How can we get along with one another? What are your thoughts on that?
Me personally, I've had to really, learn that, especially being a business owner, to separate your personal feelings from, everything else, general conversation, whatever it may be. Because if you do continue to allow yourself to get easily offended, you're going to be hurt all the time. If I, got offended every time somebody told me, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, no, we're not going to work with you, then I'd be really mad right now.
Right.
But I really think, people take things out of context, and you just really have to learn how not to do that. And that'll really, shape how you carry on conversations with people that maybe their tone of voice might come off a little, aggressive towards you, but that's not how they mean it. And if you kind of take it from their side as, okay, maybe this is just how they talk. Like people from New York, they might seem a little more abrasive in their conversation, and the way they word things. And then us down here, down south, we're Southern belles and all sweet, sweet tea and peach cobbler or whatever. We can get easily offended, and they don't mean it that way. So I would say, just take everything with a grain of salt. Don't get so, riled up and, in a bunch.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. We're on Oak 93.5 WRLY Raleigh. Aaron is a truck driver, and we've discussed his truck driving career. We are also talking about young love and being easily offended. So, Aaron, how about don't offend people? I mean, because people can just be downright rude sometimes, So let's talk about that a little bit.
I've run into some cases where I guess I've offended people.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't mean it. I don't mean it at all. It's just I've grown up in a way to not let people run over me, not take advantage of me, type thing. So I mean, there's some people that they don't mean it in a way that maybe I took it, and either I was having a bad day, it's been a long day, I've been working, and then somebody just asked me this question before I even think about it, I react, and that's something I really have to work on myself. But to not offend somebody, you really just need to, before you respond, kind of sit there. Okay, they asked me this or they said this. They probably didn't mean it how I'm taking it. So how can I respond without, I need them to clarify it before I respond, and then it turns into something that it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I agree. Here are some points that I found online that can help some of us who get offended, and then those of us who offend others. So here goes some points here. If you're easily offended, identify why you're offended. That's one point. Differentiate constructive criticism from true rudeness. Another point is take a minute. Just stop and take a minute to see what was being said to you. Remember that no one is perfect. That's another thing. And then be willing to listen. Be willing to listen. And then on the other hand, if you're one that offends a lot, remember that the Bible says love is not easily provoked. So some tips in on how to not offend others. Think before you speak. Think before you speak. Know your audience. Keep conversation light with people you don't know. Also, when expressing your opinions to friends and family, remember that these are people that you care about. All right. And then another point is be mindful of your tone and your animations.
Oh, yeah.
I always get, for some reason, when I'm in a serious conversation with someone, and it's like a bit of a debate, a couple of times I've had people say, stop speaking with your hands. I'm like, what do you mean? That's just how I talk. I speak with my hands a lot. But I guess in some kind of way it's offensive to people, or they think maybe I'm trying to strike them, or I'm going to get ready to strike at them or something. Another point is listen more than you talk. Ask challenging questions respectfully. And the last point is know there may be more than one right answer. Know that there may be more than one right answer. Okay. Aaron, I also wanted to talk a little bit about hacking.
About what?
Hacking on
Okay.
social media.
Gotcha.
All right, hackers
Oh.
on social media. I get tired of hackers. I really do. Do you have problems with hacking on social media?
It's funny you brought that up. Me personally, no. Um, but just recently, my dad, he actually got his Instagram page hacked.
Wow.
And then that person went from his page and started messaging people that he knew. Messaged me, messaged my sister, basically saying, "Oh, hey, I need you to," I think it was like Cash App such and such or whatever. And that gave him access to our Instagram pages, social media outlets, whatever it may be. It actually got to a point where I created my dad's Instagram page for him,
Okay.
and it was linked to my I think it was my email address or my phone number. So although he only got my dad's page, he was doing the forgot password, and it was sending me like these password reset links to my phone. And if I would have not thought about it and clicked it, he would have had my social media as well. I really feel like a lot of people just don't have anything better to do. What do you get out of taking somebody's social media that they've worked hard on to, post pictures that are these people's memories. They might not have these same pictures saved in their phone, and then you go take their Facebook or whatever, and then they have to start all over. Me specifically, I have so many posts on my Instagram. Well, a lot of them are archived. But I go back and I look on them, when I was filming Our Kind of People, or, I've done some fashion shows, or I've had news articles written about me, and I look back on it, and I'll especially like to go through the comments, the congratulations and whatnot, and I look back on it like, okay, I've really lived a full life for somebody who's only 24. So
Yeah, you're right. When I looked at I Googled why do people hack? I mean, what is the purpose in
Yep.
this stuff? And of course we know some. I mean, some of it is self-explanatory, but one of the things you mentioned, like they're just bored. They're boredom. They don't have anything to do. Some people do it for financial gain, identity theft. Some people do it to catch their spouses cheating on them. Blackmail is one of the reasons why people hack. And then to draw attention, that's another point that was brought up. And then corporate espionage is another reason why people hack. So many reasons out there,
it's
but
a lot.
ways to protect yourself. Always use solid and original passwords. Allow two-factor authentication across all of your accounts. Create individual passwords for all of your accounts, each one of them. Don't keep the same password on all your different accounts. And then audio login or unprotected or public devices. Don't be leery of using those things like in public places like your public libraries. Be careful as much as you can with that. All right, Aaron, what are you going to do next? I mean, so you've tried you've had your storefronts and you've done so much. You've done acting. Are you gonna go back into acting?
So yes, but I'm putting a spin on it.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if she's listening, but I recently was honored to go down to Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
And one of my very good friends, Rihanna Briggs, if you all do not know her, you need to look her up. She is amazing. Actress, model, business owner, just as well as me. And she's doing great things. She's been on, Tyler Perry Productions. She was actually on The Color Purple with Taraji P. Henson, Fantasia, Oprah. Amazing cast. So I actually was able to go see her in a play called Fairview, which is, I want to say until May 13th is the last date. If you have a chance and you can get tickets, go see it. It's going to be at the Trust Us Theater. But she is involved in a lot of stage plays. And I've told, her and two of my other friends that I met on set of Our Kind of People, I've written, stage plays. I've written short films. So I think I'm going to start to take a turn into more of the director writer role.
Okay.
So I do have quite a bit of productions that I need to finish up, and then I plan to put them on stage. As far as I have another friend. Her name is Trinice. She's big in music. She's got some albums on Apple Music. I kind of want to go into like maybe writing a couple verses and getting on some music with her. And then my other friend, Jacqueline. So he just recently moved to Atlanta. Atlanta's a hub for, music and arts and, television.
Yes.
He's really big into, fashion. So I might take it a turn to get into the fashion industry a little bit. But it's so much I want to do. And being only 24 and having the friends that I have, so many opportunities to collaborate with them or, reach out to people that I've met, on set of Our Kind of People or any other productions or job sites that I've been on. So it's really no telling what's next, but I will, tell you, make sure you follow me on social media. I'll be posting anything that comes up soon. So
sounds good. I definitely will be following.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me ask you this. What's, where's your next trip on your truck, or what's next for you in the trucking industry?
Up next. So the biggest hurdle for me right now is getting involved with Amazon. A lot of box truck owner operators, they get involved with Amazon, and I think I applied like right at the edge of when they changed up their requirements. So when you get a DOT number that says you can operate on the road, it has to be 90 days. And now they've changed it to 180 days. But luckily, I kind of beat that. But they are going through these technology upgrades that is delaying the process of me really operating with them. So that'll be, my next thing is really getting involved with them and, hitting the ground running.
Okay, that sounds good. Aaron, it has been a pleasure having you back here again.
So much.
I wish you much success in all that you choose to do. And this is the end of our show for today. Join us again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Oak 93.5. This is Chat City with P. Ross signing off. Again, Aaron, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Enjoy the rest of the week.